The amount of new content that's being published on a daily basis is over 4 billion pieces of content. That's audio, video, images, text. 58% of them, no engagement, no likes, no shares, no comments. So it just shows creating content doesn't guarantee success. You're just drowning in a sea of noise. So now when you create content,
Neil Patel,
one of the brightest minds in digital marketing.
Accomplished author.
One of the most sought-after marketers by some of the most prestigious companies in the world.
the average person spends 2 hours and 27 minutes a day on social media. Uses 6.6 social networks: Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Snap, X, Facebook, Reddit, etc. So if you're not on a lot of these platforms, you're not going to do well. And the outsized returns are where and most people overestimate what AI can do, and they believe it's like this magic wand. You wave it and boom, everything is solved, and it doesn't work that way. Here's the problem with AI. AI is scraping the web, taking everything it's learned to help create a new output. But people want you to talk about that's what performs the best.
wow, great advice.
One thing I want to point out is don't just believe what people are saying, whether it's me, Bezos, Elon, or Bill Gates. It doesn't matter who's telling you advice. Just don't take it as blanket advice and just assume they're correct.
What's the key to success and longevity?
Being passionate and enjoying what you're doing. I'm around because I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing. It has nothing to do with the money. No joke, less than 24 hours ago, my sister asked me, would you consider selling your company?
Welcome to What the Tech, your gateway to business strategies and tech secrets shaping today's workplace. I'm glad, Dave, that we have in the house an expert that, for me, is a rock star. This guy is a true rock star in our industry, and I'm glad to have him today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, let's not waste any time. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Neil Patel.
Thanks for having me.
Neil,
Awesome.
thank you so much for joining us. It's like a household name around here. I can't believe you actually got him on.
I know. You know what, Dave? I was surprised he even responded. I went on his profile on LinkedIn. I actually studied his profile. I went and counted the last 150. I'm like, Neil, you've got 150 short form videos and then none of the long form on LinkedIn. I don't know if that caught your attention or not, or if you get like 1,000 spams and you're like, delete. But I did. I went in, I did that, and I'm like, let's take a gamble. See if he actually responds. And you did.
I remember, because then you asked me about long form and producing it versus short form and the thoughts behind it and all that. So,
oh, awesome. I'm glad that caught your attention because I was watching your live on LinkedIn, and it was talking about the trends and what's happening in this year. And there's so much to unpack with what's happening. And I want to just jump right into it with you. The industry is changing, from a digital marketing perspective. There's a lot going on. I want you to tell me why content is not king.
Content is not king because there's too much content being published. When Bill Gates said that back in the days, I believe it was before 2000, the internet was much newer. Now you have all these social platforms, so many blogs and different communities. The amount of new content that's being published on a daily basis is over 4 billion pieces of content. That's audio, video, images, text. So now when you create content, you're just drowning in a sea of noise. When we scraped a little bit more and analyzed a little bit more than 5 million posts on social media over 30 days, a bit more than 58% of them had no engagement, no likes, no shares, no comments. So it just shows creating content doesn't guarantee success.
The prolific guy on content is Mr. Gary Vee. He likes to talk about how, you got to put it, 6, 7, 8, it's kind of a floating number when it comes to that. But there's someone that I would love to get your reaction to that said something just a couple of days. So I live outside of the DC area. A lot of people come in through the White House and Congress and all that. I want you to see what Mark Cuban had to say just a couple of days ago and love to get your thoughts on it. Ori, go ahead and roll that.
How do you see this new AI era?
It's a beast. There's only two types of companies in this world, Morgan. Those who are great at AI and everybody else. If you don't know AI, you are going to fail. Period. End of story. Whether you are an employee, you're going to have to understand it, impact how it impacts your job or how you can use it to be better at your job. Same if you're a student, the same thing. And if you're a CEO, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to get my tech guys to understand it and educate me on it. You have to understand it because it will have significant impact on every single thing that you do. There's no avoiding it.
There's no avoiding it. What do you think about that?
I'm spot on. I agree with him. I think he's spot on. Funny enough, I saw him say that live on CNBC when it first came. And I agree. I think there's two types of companies. Those are going to be good at AI, embracing, and they'll do well. And those who just suck at it or don't use it at all, and that group won't do well. But I do think AI is in its infancy. And most people overestimate what AI can do, and they believe it's like this magic wand. You wave it, and boom, everything is solved, and it doesn't work that way. But in the long run, I do believe most people underestimate AI, and I think it'll do way more than people can even imagine.
The other thing that he mentioned in that piece was that no matter if you're a student, and not you were a student of Cal State Fullerton, you graduated just before the financial bubble. And we're in one of those periods of there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change, a lot is happening right now. What do you say to those people that are getting ready to enter the workforce and looking at digital marketing? What would you say to those folks about the digital marketing industry that you probably would not have known a couple of years ago?
Sure. First off, I just realized you have my company or initials on your microphone. I was like, oh, that's cool. But the first thing I would tell those people is what you're going to learn in school isn't going to prepare you for this world in AI. You're going to prepare yourself by just using the platforms out there, reading, experimenting, testing on your own. Embrace it all and don't be afraid of it. It's not going to be perfect, but the ones who are really good at it will thrive and succeed. So leverage this technology to its fullest, but really get good at it. It's one thing to be able to know how to use these platforms. It's another thing to be great at it. Being good at it and mediocre and average, you can pick any of those. It's not going to do well. You need to be that 1% who's really amazing and great.
How do you do that, Neil? How do you shoot for greatness?
You spend a lot of hours. Instead of watching YouTube and Instagram and social media, the average person spends 2 hours and 27 minutes a day on social media. Take that and spend it on these AI platforms and get great at it. Cut down on all the other crap that you don't need.
Yeah, so Neil, my son's a senior in high school. We've been looking at colleges, and every day I go to the mailbox and we get all the advertisements nationally with all the schools, and I'm noticing that a lot of these colleges have programs and focuses on AI. So, like, what's your take on this coming up through academia?
I think academia is already behind, so he's gonna learn more doing it on his own, sitting on a laptop that you buy for $1,000, or he probably already has one, than spending $20,000 a year on school.
It's funny.
What does your son want to be?
He's into like criminal law, so it's not so much that his interest is learning AI. I guess what's interesting to me is that a lot of these universities and colleges are just advertising and letting us know we have programs dedicated to training you on how to use this. So,
yeah. And for criminal law, assuming that's related to being a lawyer or something like that, he's probably gonna have to go to school. But the only reason I asked, he's like, "Oh, I want to be an engineer." I was like, skip the college."
Every one of us has had to think about what we're all about. And you've been in this industry for quite some time. What's the key to success and longevity?
Being passionate and enjoying what you're doing. I'm around because I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing. It has nothing to do with the money. I don't get me wrong, I like money, but it has everything to really do with I'm just enjoying it. My sister asked me the other day, I was going to say someone, but it was actually my sister. And when I say the other day, I'm talking about yesterday. So no joke, less than 24 hours ago, my sister asked me, would you consider selling your company? And she's not trying to buy my company or anything like that, but my sister's husband is going through that process right now, right? And, she was asking me, she's just like, would you consider selling your company? And I was telling her, like, I really love what I'm doing. I'm having tons of fun. I don't really care about the rest. I just genuinely enjoy it. And because of that, I'm just focusing on what I'm doing, and I'm not worrying about the rest.
I've been doing this for 20 years, and something that is coming to me more and more is how businesses stay alive beyond the 20 years. And I know that you've incorporated other parts into your business with MP Digital, with Uber Suggest, Answer the Public. And these tools, I've heard you say over and over again, how leveraging these freemium, almost a freemium model and free tools, give those away so that you could get the traffic and upgrade or get folks to upsell them. What do you say to businesses that are not yet on the train with that?
If they're not on the train, they're going to end up getting surpassed by someone who is on the train.
So get with the program.
Yep. There's not really much to it. It's sad, but it's true. It's just like the same thing with AI. It's like, okay, you can be like, it's really bad. I hate it, and I'm never going to use it. This is bad for the world. All right, well, someone else is going to use it, and they're going to crush you because of it. It's not about whether you like it or not. It's about reality.
And like you said, it's not a cheat code. It's not a magic potion. It's not taking the workload and doing it all for you. You know, my son, when he hears Rolando and I talking about AI, my son is like, "Oh, you rely so much on that." I'm like, "We don't rely on it to cheat. We're using it to become more creative. We're using it to bring more value to the customers that are trying to find people and companies like ours." Does it speed things up? Yes. Does it do our work for us? No. And I think the folks that poo-poo it so quickly, they don't understand it, and they just think that it's the answers in the back of a textbook or something.
Totally agree.
And you know, when I heard you recently say or put out some information where AI, when you compare it to humans, humans still outperform AI. Why is that?
So I put out a tweet and then some social media videos and a blog post comparing human generated content versus AI content. And we tracked them for 5 months to see the difference in traffic. The human written pieces of content had a little bit more than 5.4x less traffic than the human written content. When you look at, and then you could say, well, Neil, AI content's easier to produce. You can do it in mass quantity. When you look at per minute spent on AI content, because you have to remember, you had to put in prompts, some of the ideas, put it into the CMS, the publish button, and all this kind of stuff.
There it is.
Yeah, 5.44x. So on a per minute basis, we also found that the human written content was generating more visits per minute spent than the AI written content.
So would you say that humans are not yet going to be replaced by AI bots and AI chatbots when it comes to content writing?
Not yet. Maybe in the future, who knows how great the technology gets, but based on what we're seeing, it's nowhere near close. It's too big of a disparity.
I see. So ChatGPT 5 is not going to have a great impact on folks that are in that business right now.
I think it'll be better than what it currently is, but it's not gonna, be leaps and bounds because it'll keep improving. Here's the problem with AI. AI is scraping the web, taking everything it's learned to help create a new output. But the new output's based on the old information.
Mhm.
People want you to talk about new stuff that they haven't seen before. That's what performs the best. It's hard for AI to do that. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's hard for AI to do that. People are waiting for it to fix that problem, and then it'll start doing better.
Well, you know, the process of, I heard somebody recently say that you're always doing continuing education. And that's the hardest part about, like let's say AI or digital marketing. You can't use the playbook from 10 years ago anymore. It's just not going to work. You have to refresh, you have to stay current, and you have to keep testing and experiment. One of the biggest experimenters right now in our world, we're in the e-commerce world, is Amazon. And they do a bazillion experiments on the platform, and they're continuously tinkering with that platform. We actually have tape from Professor Galloway.
And so the CMOs and marketers, we all love to be nostalgic and say, oh, advertising's coming back, and we give each other awards. Every day there's less and less oxygen in the room. So if you're over the age of 40 and you're traditional branding, ride it out. If you're young and you can get out, get out. It's an industry in structural decline.
The whole world has really changed. What do you say to that? That, you should get out because digital marketing is going to be too hard for too many people if you're over 40.
Uh, I think if you want to really learn and get good at it, whether you're 40, 50, or 60, you can. If you don't want to put in the energy, then it doesn't matter what age you are. You can even be young, you're not going to do well. I think that goes for almost anything. Things are getting more and more competitive. There's more and more people that are great at things. Whatever your age may be, if you're not willing to put in the time and energy to be great at it, don't do it. That's just my 2 cents. And even basic stuff in life, like you want to be a parent, but you're not willing to put in the time and energy. Don't have kids. They take a lot of work. If you're not willing to put in the energy, don't do it.
And doing shooting for greatness, if I were to borrow your term, is difficult. If it was easy, there'd be thousands of Michael Jordans, and there aren't. There would be hundreds of coaches like Bill Belichick, and there aren't. Right? There would be thousands of Phil Jacksons, and there aren't. Shooting for greatness like takes reps, takes time, longevity, and experience, and putting that to action.
What was this Steph Curry thing when he was shooting basketballs? If he didn't do like 3 or 5 swishes in a row, then he would start all over. It was some number like that. And his goal was not for the ball to get into the hoop. It would be a swish, not touching the rim, not the backboard, nothing.
Swish.
Yes. It's like, that's greatness. You truly are optimizing for greatness at that point.
We all strive for greatness, but at the beginning, things get difficult. When I joined the team with Rolando about 6 or 7 years ago, before podcasting, before we were doing the online content, we just were trying to communicate with our customers. And it was, put a newsletter together, get some stuff, just, if there's any specials or new product releases or things like that. And I'm not a marketing person, I'm a salesperson by nature. So I was starting to play around, and I'm using MailChimp, and they give me this template, and I can put all these pictures and all these things, and I'd send it out and I'd analyze it. And the results were never the amount of time that we had put into this piece. And I guess my question is, why were we led to believe with like direct email marketing that, put a bunch of pictures and some embedded video, and here's your template and go run at it? Because we see your newsletter, and it is completely a different strategy than what we were trying, 6 or 7 years ago.
The deliverability is better when it's just text. That's the problem. A lot of these tools and the education out there, they teach you one thing, but that thing that they're teaching you isn't necessarily the optimal way. And the only way you get really good at it is you experiment yourself, you put in a lot of time and effort, and you test. That just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And what about where's the low hanging fruit with so much out there? That you've got paid social, you've got organic, you've got email marketing, you have SEO. Where's the low hanging fruit today that has the outsized ROI?
The outsized ROI is where people aren't looking. So I'll give you an example of this. According to Demand Sage, the average person uses 6.6 social networks. You go in a room, you ask people, all right? I speak all the time at conferences. How many of you guys use Instagram or TikTok? And I say or because, in some countries, TikTok is banned, like India. And you get the majority of the room raising their hand. And you can ask it just for Instagram or just for TikTok. You usually get the majority of the room raising their hand. How many of you guys use Facebook? Crickets. Very few people raise their hands, right? In almost every event I go to. But yet Meta still generates more revenue from Facebook than they do from Instagram. How is it that they're generating all this revenue if no one really uses it? One, that's a bunch of bull. A lot of people are still using it. Two, they just may not use it as much, but there's still a lot of money to be made in the stuff that's ugly and sexy. Now, the reason I say this is the average person uses 6.6 social networks. So if you're not on a lot of these platforms, you're not going to do well. And the outsized returns are where people aren't looking. So speaking of social networks, when we did analysis, social networks like Pinterest, Snap, X was actually the leader, provide a much higher return on ad spend. X right now is beating everyone because a lot of people boycotted it. Now, can you get the volume you can from X that you can with Facebook? No, you're not. That's not going to happen. But you're able to get a better ROI on X than most platforms from what we tested. If you end up getting the most you can from X, the most you can from Snap, the most you can from Pinterest and Reddit, etc., because there's not as much competition, the ROI is great. And in total, they add up. The same goes with influencer marketing. out of most paid channels, right? I'm not just talking about a platform now, but out of most paid channels, influencer marketing is one of the highest performing channels out there.
What?
And there's this company called Legion Athletics. They sell protein powder and supplements. It's like a fitness company. Now, I don't take their protein powder, but I take like fish oil from them and stuff like that. When you look at Legion, they have a founder. His name is Mike. Mike is an influencer, podcasts, blogs, on all the social channels. Trackable revenue per month, $30,000 to $40,000 in sales from his social profiles. This is a company that generates millions of dollars per month, not a million, but millions per month, right? Now they have around 750 influencers, a little bit more.
Ooh, there we go. There he is. Thanks, Ori.
Yet Legion is generating $400,000 to $500,000 a month in that range band in trackable revenue from micro influencers.
Is that the sleeper channel right now then?
Yes. Now, he's not going for Kim Kardashian to try to promote it. The ROI is not there. He's trying to go to someone who's like, you're into Pilates? You're really good and fit in Pilates? Check out these supplements. They'll help you perform better, feel better, etc. Talk about it. All right? Mike is a weightlifter. Yeah, he does cardio and stuff, but you don't see him doing Pilates. It's a different audience that's doing Pilates. He sells products for both men and women. He then will find someone who's interested in yoga. Hey, I want you to be an influencer and push our products to the yoga audience if you take our products and believe in it and try them and really love them, right? And he keeps doing this. He's not making as much per influencer versus what he's making from his own mic brand, but it's more scalable, less reliant on him. You don't have key man risk. And best of all, it's profitable. It just shows.
And can B2B companies leverage that too? Because it's one thing if you say,
Yes.
"Hey Neil, you're selling me about CPG and that's a consumer product." What do you say to the B2B companies that say, it's relationship driven and all that other stuff? How can I leverage that?
I can't even count on how many times I've been paid over $100,000 to promote a B2B product. And in many cases, like PayPal, I continually get hit up by them over and over again to keep promoting new products because it's worked. I don't have the time, so I don't always accept them. Same with Adobe. And we found it to work really well. I remember I had a deal with Snap, years ago. They wanted more advertisers for their ecosystem. I did an email blast during Easter. Not this year, it was during COVID. I drove them so many signups, no joke, true story, that they tried shutting it down because they thought they had fraud of too many people signing up to be an advertiser on Snap.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing. Like, holy smokes. So I would imagine you fit the profile of their audience more than probably others. And I think I heard you say somewhere like that it has to be relevant and it has to speak to the audience that you're catering.
Yes, because if I talk to, look, a lot of people who follow me are into fitness. If I talk about fitness products, no one's going to care. It's not just about, does my audience consume your products? Is it also, am I known for your products and services in the space you're in? Right? Snap alignment. PayPal, I was talking about conversion optimization and adding multiple checkout options and talking about tests we ran and how we saw 16 to 18% lift in conversions when we added PayPal as a payment option. I'm not getting paid to say that right now. I was getting paid in the past to say that. But it was true. And it's still true today.
Does it remove the barriers for the checkout, or is it because the wallet is available to a lot of people? Where do you fall in? What do you think that is?
Both of those plus a third one. In certain countries, it's easier for them to pay with PayPal than it is to pay through credit card because PayPal pulls through different sources, their bank account, credit cards, debit cards, etc., depending on the country, which makes it easier for them.
It's frictionless. We play in the Amazon space. We sell, we're in the consumer electronics space and in the B2B space there. It's getting more difficult to succeed on Amazon. What are you hearing from companies that are using the platform or thinking about using the platform when it comes to Amazon?
Sure. So I posted a tweet about this a while ago. We did a test of people being on Amazon versus not being on Amazon. And we had this whole chart. And we took some businesses who are on Amazon and they were just like, man, Amazon's competitive. It's not worth it. They're going to take away your sales. The first 3 months, we saw total sales go up, but website sales go down and Amazon sales start going there. The conclusion was that some of the people who were buying from the website would have started buying from Amazon. All right. And then when we started looking, past months 1 to 3, because we started looking at months 4 to 6, we started seeing website sales starting to go a little bit back up and Amazon sales also starting to go back up. And then over time, if you fast forward for a year later, you saw total number of sales. And there you go. I love how you guys are just integrating the charts. It makes it so much easier. As you can see, when you start looking at month 7 and beyond, and keep in mind there's seasonality in some of these businesses, total website sales went up and Amazon sales went up, and being on Amazon helped generate more website sales. When we started surveying the audience, we found that a lot of people found the brand on Amazon, subscribed to newsletter on the website, and bought from the website due to promotion, or were just becoming fanatics of the product, joined the community. But we saw being on Amazon in the short run can hurt sales, but being in the long run helps overall sales and profitability. Keep in mind, Amazon takes a cut. You guys know this better than anyone else, but they also spend an arm and a leg on marketing, which helps you drive more sales. And when you get website sales, keep in mind you're spending money on marketing. People just forget to include that in their equation.
There's a lot of talk in our world about direct to consumer. You watch Shark Tank, they all talk about D2C. It is really hard to bring that audience to your website, no matter what you're in, CPG or B2B. And Amazon has in the US about 200 million, somewhere between 100 and 200 million Prime subscribers. And included in that is businesses that are also buying, government institutions also buying. We've had more interaction in the last 6 months with the Amazon Enterprise team, B2B team, and they're telling us, I'm not going to name the names, but a lot of enterprise that are coming to them and saying, hey, let us enable our employees so they could just do the deliveries to their home, and we can monitor, track, and get a better handle on this than whatever other tools they've been using today. And it seems like, from what they're telling us, some of the marketers and sellers don't quite get that trend is happening really rapidly right now. Does that jive with what you know about Amazon?
Yeah. They're moving more into B2B as well. Not just with Amazon.com, but even with the cloud ecosystem, right? You know how many people are selling their own software solutions via Amazon? Like, it's a massive market. People just take it for granted.
Wow. Well, it's been an amazing channel for us over the years, and it's not getting easier when we look at it. There's something that I keep hearing when I keep digesting your videos. I hear the word profits. Do this, make sure it's profitable. Do that, make sure it's profitable. One of the things that's really hard, even for us, we do podcasts, we do other social media, the attribution doesn't always flow cleanly to say, yeah, I watched your podcast and bought this. But I've heard you say, yeah, you got to be doing podcasts because, tell me why we should be doing podcasts.
So there's over 1 billion blogs right now on the internet. Active podcasts, I think the number is less than 5 million or 4 million. It's somewhere around there. But if you look at how many blogs there are to people, there's roughly one blog for every 7 to 8 people in the world. Podcasts, there's less than one podcast for every 1,000 people. The ratio is actually even better than that. And the point I'm getting at is not that competitive. Yeah, a large chunk of this world is listening to audio, whether in the car, driving, not even to work, just driving around, working out at the gym. It's an amazing channel. Salesforce did a study years and years ago. It's probably changed by now, but the average U.S. Household income for podcast listeners was over $75,000. And it just shows that they tend to have a decent chunk of change. It's a good market, and you got to go after it. Now, granted, not all channels you're going to be able to track the way you want, and that's okay. Just keep that in mind. But when you can, do track and try to generate a positive ROI from it.
How do you have that conversation? Because I've listened to other folks and say, well, it costs me time and money and, all this other stuff that comes with creating content like this. How can I trace, like let's say you have an old school manager or boss and they're like, why should we do that? I don't measure how can I measure can I put a button on your podcast so you add to cart right from that? But you can't.
Yeah, it's just showing you examples and case studies. Look at what happened with Onnit and Joe Rogan, right?
Yep.
Like showing you examples like that or other case studies within your space. Hopefully you can get people excited about it. And if they don't want to do it, be like, okay, I'm going to do it on my free time and it won't cost the company $1 and let's just see what happens, right? It's going to be hard for them to complain about that.
And it really softens the blow. When we look at some of our content and we're like, you know what, this is a great video. It got 3,500 views. And then we kind of joke and we're like, I would rather take the time to create some value, put out some nice content for 3,500 people versus picking up the phone and calling 3,500 people. But something else that it does on the sales side of things, and this just happened to me last week, I had a meeting with a prospect Friday morning. I had never met this gentleman. I had met some other people in his organization. They had shared some of our content with him. So I'm meeting with this IT director, and he says to me, he's like, I really like you. I really like you guys. We just got on the phone. We were on the phone for 60 seconds, and he says this. And as we get a little deeper in the conversation, he's like, I've actually checked out a bunch of your videos. I kind of got to know you. I got to know Rolando, see what you guys were all about. And then I'm just sitting there like, you know what? We were able to build rapport in the middle of the night. And, and it really softened the blow. It made the conversation easy to start. And we're in proposal phase already, and they're examining them now as we speak. What would you say to people about the value of using content in kind of that sales, that rapport building? Like, is there value in that? Do you feel that that's valuable to help move the sales process along?
It is. In marketing, we call it the rule of 7. When someone sees or interacts with the brand 7+ times, they're much more likely to evangelize the brand, talk about it, take action. And when you're in the sales process, whether you're dealing with procurement, for enterprise, or just talking to someone when they're more familiar with the brand, it's actually easier to get a deal done.
I was just going to say, I wrote something down. You piqued my interest on talking about sales. We're always starving for leads. And everybody wants leads, no matter what organization you're in. Like, give me leads, give me leads, help a brother out with LinkedIn. And you get slammed. I don't know about you, but I get slammed with nothing but I'm going to help you get super hot leads and it's guaranteed to work. What's the deal with that? What's the deal with this lead gen stuff and all these? Is it for real? We've never used any of those services, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
I've tried using some of those services. I don't know how many times, but more than I can count on one hand. And for how many times I've tried, that's the exact number of times it didn't work out.
So they're all no, it's not a really good ROI or even worth it.
I wouldn't say there's not a good ROI or that it doesn't work. We just haven't found one that works. And I do think a lot of them are crapshoots, because if they're that good, they wouldn't have to do tons and tons of cold outreach, and they would get way more business through word of mouth. Like in general, when you look at most service-based businesses, they tend to grow through word of mouth marketing in the long run. And if they don't, that means they suck at providing the service.
Advertising is a tax on really bad products, although Amazon makes a killing and a fortune off of taxing people using their PPC and off-platform advertising. What do you say about that, where advertising is a tax versus having a really good product that speaks for itself?
Yeah, I don't really look at advertising as a tax or not. I look at it as the best way to really grow is having a good product or service. I look at advertising as something that can help spread the word, because if you have a great product, it doesn't mean it's going to get out there. And I've seen it one too many times not get out there. But on the flip side, spending tons of money on advertising for a crap product or service doesn't do much justice in the long run. You're just dragging out your inevitable death if you have a crap product or service, if you're just spending tons on advertising. one thing I want to point out is whether it's Bezos or me or a lot of other people who say something, don't just believe what people are saying. Go look at your own data, stats, go do your own research. And the reason I say this, people like Bezos will talk about obsess about your customers, not your competition. There's a lot of data and studies that have been shown that if you don't also obsess about your competition, you're kind of screwed because they're going to just outrun you and do crap that you're not doing and take over your market share, right? And I'm not saying I'm smarter than Bezos. He's much more smarter and successful than I ever will be. But the point I'm getting at is whether it's me, Bezos, or Elon, or Bill Gates, and I'm not in the same camp as them, but it doesn't matter who's telling you advice. Just don't take it as blanket advice and just assume they're correct.
I like that. I
Advice.
like that. You know, you have to play. I know in our world we play. I played sports, so you got to play offense, defense, and special teams. You got to play all three of those aspects to be really good to get to the Super Bowl if you're talking football. And if you just a great offensive team, you just got 1/3 of the equation right. And looking at it in your own line of business, looking at data, I know you're a data guy and you really geek out on data, and I love that you give a lot of free value when it comes to that. So everybody should make their own decision and apply it to them and experiment and tinker, to see if that actually works for the line of business that they're in.
Yep.
Love that advice, Neil. You ready for rapid fire?
I am.
All right, awesome. So Ori, kick us off with the rapid fire segment. So Neil, whatever hits your brain, it's no right or wrong answer. It's your answer. So I'm going to kick it off and alternate with Dave here on this. All right. Walmart versus Amazon.
I like Walmart. When we lived in Las Vegas, I would go to Walmart and I was like, holy crap, they have groceries, organic food, they have everything here. And I was like, this is convenient. I do shop at Amazon way more than I shop at Walmart, but I do love going to a Walmart store. They literally have everything.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You're going against the trend. I got to tell you, we've asked this question to a lot of people, and you're one of the few that told.
But for good reason. For good reason, Walmart. We did something recently, and we learned that Walmart was the number one grocer in the U.S. Is that right, Rolando?
Yeah, they're one of the top.
Yeah, they
chains.
have everything. I didn't realize they have groceries. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah,
and it's organic. You can literally buy anything you want from there, just
That's
like
right.
you can from Whole Foods. I thought Walmart wouldn't have good quality products like fruit and stuff. They do.
Here's one for you. Did you know that this is not the bread product, but did you know that there was a banana alarm at Whole Foods that wakes managers up to make sure they have bananas in stock because that's what draws people into Whole Foods.
I did not know that.
Yep. Shout out to Blake Lawson. That was called Amazon. What was the project name? Was Project
Cherry.
Project Cherry. All right. Next question with the rapid fire. Favorite social media platform?
X. You can test a lot on X, figure out what works, and then use it for the rest of the social networks.
Very cool.
Favorite piece of tech?
Favorite piece of tech?
Could be hardware, software.
I probably would say Gemini. I know a lot of people love ChatGPT. I've been an avid Gemini user for a while, and I know they're not the best when it comes to images, and they have that whole debacle, but it's a great product. And for some things like content writing, we've seen Gemini produce better results than ChatGPT.
There you go.
Neil, what's the first thing you reach for in the morning?
My phone. Check emails.
Okay. Game-changing book.
I don't think there's a game-changing book that I've ever read. There's quite a few books I've read that I like Principles by Ray Dalio, The Dip by Seth Godin, Lean Startup by Eric Ries. There's a lot of good books out there. The problem with books, and I've written a book, is most people don't take action on what they read. So it's just like, for most people, 99.99% of people, it's not game-changing because they don't do anything with whatever they just learn. Sad.
It's hard to apply the learnings, right? That's what I hear you saying.
Yep.
And the last question on our rapid fire, Neil, who's a person you admire?
I'm going to go with my mom. She was a breadwinner. She taught me a lot about business and entrepreneurship. she's no Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or anything like that. But if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been where I am today.
Shout out to mom. All
I
right.
know. Big shout out to mom. You know what? Hold up. Moms gets the applause for today to end the show. You know, Neil, we want to thank you for joining us today. It's been like a absolute pleasure having you on and chatting with you. We consume what you say and actually talk to you back and forth. It's just awesome. And I hope that at some time again, you can come back on whenever you want. You just ring us up. Hey, I'd love to come back on and share something new.
I had to say, I do a lot of podcast interviews. This is one of my favorite ones. This is really fun.
Oh, yes. Awesome. I love it. I love it. That made my day. Made probably the whole week.
Yeah.
What makes it good is a few things, the editing, how you guys bring in clips. But what really makes it good is you guys both have the right personalities to do a podcast. That is very important.
And you know what? Say a shout out to Eric, your co-host as well. You guys do some stuff as well on YouTube. I watch that. I've seen him. I saw him at Accelerate several years ago before the pandemic. He's a great speaker. So shout out to him when you see him. Tell him we said hello. We'd love to see him here too, if he can come on. So Neil, wonderful sitting down and chatting with you. I hope we can do this in the future again.
Anytime.
Well, if you've been loving this podcast and getting value out of what Neil has just told us on this podcast, I invite you to support us by hitting that like and subscribe button, as well as checking out the links in the description below, as you could support us. If you want business services or IT business services, we have several to offer. Check the links in the description and you could see how you can support this channel so we could bring you more wonderful guests just like Neil. But you know what? If you want to find out why your TikTok channel is not blowing up and is heading in the wrong direction, you want to check out that episode with Helen Palisi, who is known as the TikTok teacher. She came on the show, told us exactly why a lot of channels are not having the success on TikTok as they should. So go ahead and check out that episode with Helen Palisi, also known as the Mothership. And I guarantee you're going to learn a lot from that too. So I want to thank my guest, Neil Patel, for joining us today. And Dave and I will see you next time.